The next talk is Sustainable Digital Intervention in Tribal and Remote Areas of Andhra Pradesh using freedombox by Sripath Roy and team. Sripath is the General Secretary of Swecha AP based out of Andhra Pradesh and working as an assistant professor at KL University, Andhra Pradesh. Sripath, it's all yours.
Thank you. So we are from Swecha AP, which is a not-for-profit working on free software for technology for society. And we aim towards bridging the digital divide. So today we are here to tell our story, how we went to certain areas in tribal area of Andhra Pradesh and how we try to provide some digital services there. So like we are here in the Western Ghats of India, so where you are seeing Anamudi Peak, and we are very close by to the mountain ranges. Where I come from is from the Eastern Ghats of the country. There are very beautiful places and good hill stations and all. We had a journey over there. We met a lot of people. There are a lot of indigenous cultures. There is a lot of natural resources which are self-sustainable. But when we entered, we encountered there are hundreds of villages there where there is no cellular connectivity at all. So there are hundreds and hundreds of villages, there is no mobile connectivity or not even internet connectivity. So they are blind since many years. In the digital age, so today we are connected through internet, our entire lives are depending on internet and the knowledge systems which are available on internet. There, at the same time, there are many people who are away from this access. Not only cellular connectivity, even to make a phone call, they had to travel around 20 kilometers. So just imagine there is a health emergency where they have to call a hospital or someone close by or someone, a relative or someone. They had to travel 20 kilometers to 30 kilometers just to make a phone call. And there are a lot of people who die in this process. And that is how the connectivity became a bigger issue. And not just in the emergency, there is not even a very good power supply. Half of the day they are completely blacked out of the power supply. And coming to the education, there are schools, but there is a huge lack of digital resources and many such resources. So these are the marginalized sections which are still present in the today's era, but they are left out. So no cellular provider or even the government is ready to provide solutions for them. So being the infrastructure which is very costly, and they choose to leave them marginalized, thus improving the huge digital gaps. So where the people in the cities and from the towns gaining the access and getting better opportunities, where these people are still being left out. The highest amount of education that we saw in these places was till the high school. So post high school, there are many people over there who are just first generation kids who are just studying now. So their parents didn't go to school or their grandparents. So that is a situation where we as free activists, free software activists, we thought to provide certain solution there. So we interacted with a lot of people. We did a lot of surveys. We found out that there are a lot of schools, a lot of school kids and youth who are lacking the knowledge access. So we thought of giving the digital access to those villages and also provide certain knowledge systems for them. So we gathered a lot of books, open access videos related to schools, for engineering students, for degree students. We gathered a lot of information, we prepared an archive, and then we looked into a lot of tools which can provide the services or the solutions for these people. And that is where freedombox came to our rescue. So freedombox, which is a Debian pure blend, has provided almost 99% of the solution that we are looking for. It comes up with all the services that can enable a village or transform a system to make it go digital. So freedombox, the funny thing is the freedombox is designed and developed as a private home server, but we hacked it or we modified it to make it a community server for a whole village. So the next story comes up how we use this content and the data that we gathered and archived and make it run as services for the village. So we use a lot of services from FreedomBox that you can see. The books and the content are we served using Calibre. We hosted there. We used SyncThing to share the files. We used basic file sharing, FTP file sharing. The most interesting thing is the video lectures and for the school kids. Our main aim is for the school kids and the youth. So where we gathered a lot of information related to education, where we streamed it using mini DLNA, and also we used Jellyfin server to provide the streaming solutions. And offline, we used Kivix to serve the Wikipedia offline archives. And we used PageGuide to manage the server from our place. And Mumble is one interesting story where we used it to broadcast as a village radio. So where someone in the village used to broadcast whatever they want to tell, and whenever they want to have a podcast or something, a simple broadcast every week, every weekend, they use Mumble as a service. And lastly, internet is a service. So if you imagine the internet connectivity there is 1 Mbps. After one day, they are going to get only 1 Mbps for the whole month. And the village of 300, 400 people have to stay on this 1 Mbps. So internet is not a solution for them. So government have to lay the infrastructure until they get connected. So till then they can't be blacked out of the information. That is where we archived all these and use FreedomBox to serve this content offline to everyone. And hardware, setting up the FreedomBox as a server is done. Now we have to broadcast to the whole village. So it's a tribal area which is full of trees, hills, and a lot of foam spread across the village. So streaming it to the entire village is a huge challenge for us. So setting a few antennas in a room and broadcasting to this room on an inside access point would have been easier. But with the trees and we have mapped the whole village, we have figured out where the trees are, where the buildings are, and made sure how the antennas work. We tried with a lot of antennas, and we created a village map, and then we started setting up the antenna network. So we used a lot of outdoor access points, repeaters, to make sure the entire village gets connected. So the next few photos will show you how we configured FreedomBox and made the network available across. Can you? So our volunteers of Sweja who are doing graduation, BTech graduation, were there in setting up this FreedomBox. So, yeah. So not only setting up the services, the next major step is about making them use it. So just leaving them connected to the services doesn't let them or continue using them. So we run few sessions, we interacted with the villagers, we enabled the youth of the village to self-sustain it, to take it forward. And maybe that is where we created few manuals, few documentation for them to spread across. And this is the most important part. As free software activists, we tried to do something. We developed a solution, tinkering or using a lot of free software and hardware solutions. But the major problem is the continuation of this. So the community have to take up. So it is not the community have to take up, and you don't believe the villagers have owned this. They have helped setting up this entire network, and not just helping up setting the own network. Few people owned it, and our future idea is to have every village having their own FreedomBox, managing their own services, because every village has certain amount of demographics of students or women or farmers. They need their own localized content. So they will be gathering their content, they will be setting up their own servers, and they will be maintaining the content streams for them. And that is how we are going to maintain the decentralization and collaboration. And not only that, listening to this setup, few villages across, They spread the word. Lot of villages, lot of requests came in, and asking us to set up the same community network across. There, there we have done we have gone further and started setting them in those villages as well. And they didn't stop there because we as some activists or some organizations going there and setting up will not be sustainable for every village possible. So they came forward, they went to the government, they filed an application setting up this, giving this model as an example, asking them to set up Freedom Box or this community network or knowledge centers for them in their local places. And yes, as a next step, this moved forward in setting up a community digital library. So the government welcomed the idea, and now they are ready to set up a community digital library in a school. We chose a school to set up this, where we are going to set a few computers there for people, for the students basically, to get in touch with these knowledge resources, and the village to get access with this services. So this entire thing was possible with the free software community and the Freedom Box team, Freedom Box developers, majorly Sunil Mohan, who was with us in setting up this Freedom Box. We have Joseph in the crowd, and there are a lot of Freedom Box developers who helped us transform this idea to make it work for a rural space. And the next idea is about contributing to equitable tech. So the problem here is there are a lot of services and applications that are available, but it is not so easy for a person from a tribal agency area to start quickly using them because of the lack of knowledge they have in using the digital services. So building equitable tech where people can easily understand how to work on these applications, how to stream their content, and localizing the content. So is the next challenge for us. And that is where we are looking for collaborations from different free software communities where they can help us give more ideas of using better tools, better technology, or the better hardware, better antennas, the better infrastructure. So that every last mile, so we call it the last mile connectivity, the last mile reaches, the access reaches to the last mile. And yes, volunteer with us, and maybe if you can fund us in setting up this community networks. So lastly, with Freedom Box and technology, we believe that we can bring change to the lives of the people. So Freedom Box and free software can bring a lot of change to the lives of the people, and we want everyone to be part of this change. Thank you. So, any questions?
Hello, I am Varun. I have a few questions.
Yeah.
So one is regarding funding.
Getting closer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One question is regarding funding. So where did you get funding from? Like in my experience, generally donors, like they give money, but they also demand like a certain, like they want to know where their money is going and all. Like they want documentation about how it is being used and all. So how did you manage that?
Yeah. So basically, we are an organization which advocate free software. We run a lot of workshops. We transfer technology, and there we raise a lot of funds. And through those funds, we are going to use them in the rural spaces. And yes, we should be transparent about how we use the funds.
Okay, thank you. So my other question is, how did you get this decentralization process done? This decentralization process, like I suppose that must have been a very important step, because like otherwise, when somebody is managing it, then it works well, but to move it on to the locals, yeah. So how did you do that step?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's quite a challenge because training the locals to enable them to make their services run for us is not an easy job. And till date, we didn't even achieve it. So we are in hand with them to make it work. So we are not the one who are going to control the whole thing, but we are going to enable the villagers to run their own digital setup. Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is, you asked about they not being able, not being able to do phone calls in emergency cases. Maybe I missed it, but you didn't talk about voice over IP or something like that. So how did you give them the ability to do phone calls?
I didn't get the question, sorry.
You said that they needed to go 20 kilometers or so to
Yeah.
make a phone call. Did you fix that? Did you give them voice over IP or something? Or how did you manage that?
Yeah. So what we did was we enabled the internet to be spread across the whole village, and yes, they are using WhatsApp to make their calls now. So we didn't fix it using a matrix server or something, but they are connected through WhatsApp. They are forming groups across villages, and they are making calls over it.
Yeah. My question is, can there be a mechanism like two freedom boxes interacting with each other? I mean, you set up freedom boxes in different villages, and you have a common knowledge base so that you can, from your base, broadcast, offline wikis, and these students in different communities can, each having different freedom boxes, can share, can access that single source of information.
It's up to the Freedom Box maintainer how they want to connect with others. So there is a possibility if they are connected to in a common network, there is always a possibility to share the knowledge repository. So I don't think knowledge repository need to be restricted. If someone wants to gather the knowledge from some other village, it is always open for them.
Hello. This is not a question, but to evangelize this one tool that I love, it's called as Colibri. So it also has the same thing, like reducing the knowledge gap, something that I could help with. Yeah.
True. So Colibri comes up with a lot of knowledge resources from our country.
Oh, there's a question on IRC. It is, what could be the free software community do to be more useful for such places? Is the B easier to use? You already mentioned in the main thing, or is there anything more? They gave an example around being able to handle cheap hardware, limited unreliable power, internet, etc.
Yeah. So, like I said, the corporates and the government didn't choose to work for the marginalized. But the free software is something that always works for the people. So building tech is possible when free software community can come around and gather. That is where we put a request like to build more equitable tech, so that, or ease of use technology, so that the people can just quickly install. That is why we choose Freedom Box as a service, because these particular packages can be installed on any Debian system and run. But Freedom Box comes up with plinth interface where people can just install using a simple UI. So maybe developing such applications or making network equipment much cheaper, antennas much cheaper, and maybe our next challenge is about handling the power. So these kind of systems, if they come down, if the costs come down, maybe it would help serve a lot of people.
Totally, how many villages did you cover, sir, fully?
Fully,
How many people's benefited?
how many people? This is a story of a village called Lodoti in Andhra Pradesh. The similar setup we have done in Surapugudam. There are a couple of villages that we have done in Telangana as well. So we have a sister organization that is in Telangana. And the digital services, apart from the digital services, we provide access to internet in around 7-8 villages. So we didn't set up a freedom or the data server yet, but first we started with a couple of antennas to provide internet to the whole village. So the next step is about providing the knowledge resources.
We are about time, so thanks Sripath for the talk, and that's it.
Thank you very much.